LeBron James hits the game winner. It was a beauty. All right, kids, don't try this at home.
I mean, the degree of difficulty on that shot. As people were saying online, it's the type of shot you take when, like, your mom calls you to come home from the park, and it's not your basketball, so you're going off the court and you just throw one up as you're running home. I don't know what to say about it, Sid.
I love the fact Kevin Love talked about how many times he's practiced this shot. Coaches tell you, don't shoot shots you're not going to shoot. LeBron said, well, I'm going to need this one. So he said he's seen him shoot this shot hundreds and hundreds of times in practice, so it's great to see.
Man, no question he was trying to go glass. Just perfect.
All right, the other Saturday game, Celtics at Sixers. Ben Simmons with the no-look dime. Joel Embiid flushes it home. Wasn't enough, no. Boston now up 3-0 in that series. We'll talk about that in a beat.
Listen, Embiid had a couple monster dunks. One in the first half, one in the second half of this game. I mean, he victimized Aaron Baines on those plays, but he's been getting victimized by Al Horford in this series, has Embiid.
Yeah, not many highlights coming out of Philadelphia. Rumor has it they let Meek Mill out, but rumor has it they put Ben Simmons in his place.
Oh, two rumors.
God.
Warriors, Pelicans, Game 4 yesterday, Drew Holiday. AD, Anthony Davis, textbook pick and roll. Warriors win. They take a commanding 3-1 lead in that series.
Another one of these oopsies, Steve, that is not on point, but Anthony Davis goes and gets it.
It's like playing with a bad quarterback. Now you can see his catching skills.
Oh.
Flushed out.
All right, finally, the other Game 4 yesterday, Rockets Jazz. Royce O'Neal drives, throws down the playoff poster. There it is.
It's the only thing Capella didn't block during the game.
Exactly. I was just about to make Capella was getting after it. Now, he contested this one. That's going to happen to you if you're a big man in the NBA. You're supposed to go up and try to contest. This was... The Jazz went on a bit of a run late in the game, but the Rockets were in pretty firm control throughout.
Rockets get the win. They take a 3-1 lead. All right, let's move on to the Pittsburgh Steelers. You know, guys, you'd think if you're a franchise quarterback with tons of money, a nice car, no threat to your position, and a glorified place in your team's history, you wouldn't care so much if your team drafted a future quarterback. Keyword there being future. But when the Steelers drafted Mason Rudolph in the 3rd round, Big Ben was big unhappy. Last week he said if Rudolph's the guy, he won't be for a while. Turns out he wasn't a fan of the Steelers drafting a quarterback at all.
Well, I was surprised when they took a quarterback because I thought that maybe in the 3rd round, you know, you can get some really good football players that can help this team now. And nothing against Mason. I think he's a great football player. I don't know him personally, but I'm sure he's a great kid. I just don't know how, you know, backing up or being the 3rd round, who knows where he's going to fall in the depth chart, but helps us win now. But, you know, that's not my decision to make. You know, that's on the coaches and the GM and owner and those kind of things. So if they feel like he can help our team, so be it. But I was a little surprised.
Will you feel any extra or added responsibility to take him under your wing? Do you think you'll have to do that?
Well, I don't think I'll need to now. He said that he doesn't need me. So if he asked me a question, I might have to just point to the playbook, you know?
You know, if I was Ben, I'd probably say the same thing. You know, he's a competitor. You know, obviously he's a lot of confidence in himself like I do. And, yeah, I mean, he's going to be a future Hall of Famer, and I would expect him to say that.
There's a little, like, passive aggressiveness going on there.
I'm not sure how passive it is.
There's a little aggressiveness going on there from Big. When you say to someone, no offense, but I'm going to offend you in 16 different ways, it's the same way of Ben Roethlisberger saying, nothing against Mason, but let me tell you the following 5 reasons why I'm not going to be tutoring, mentoring, or spending any time making this guy better. CC, does Roethlisberger have a point about the Steelers drafting Mason Rudolph?
No, he doesn't have a point because he doesn't have any say in it. It's one discussion we've had earlier about Aaron Rodgers or other players. Should they have input on what you're going to do as a front office? And this is another glaring example of why they shouldn't know. Ben doesn't know what prospects the Steelers need. Actually, the Steelers had a quarterback when they drafted Ben. I wonder, did he still think the same? Tommy Mack, they had a starting quarterback who they drafted Ben to replace him. And every other starting quarterback, even the greatest of them all, Terry Bradshaw, they drafted someone to take his spot. It's called the National Football League. It's called the process of becoming a player. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, as an organization, how many Super Bowls they won?
They won five? Six Super Bowls.
Has anybody won more?
What? No.
Okay. I think they're doing a pretty good job at selecting players because They don't participate in free agency the way other teams have done through the years. They've been very consistent and patient with their coaches.
Smart with which players they decide to extend and not. If you remember, they had Mike Wallace, Antonio Brown. People didn't know who they were going to keep. They got rid of Mike. They gave Antonio his first big contract. Like, they've been savvy on all those moves.
The Pittsburgh Steelers have done a good job. But for those who don't follow the NFL, this is who Ben Roethlisberger is. He's always been very, very petty. He's always been about getting attention himself. Even his injuries, people would say that, yes, he's durable, but he's also milked some of those injuries as far as how long he was going to be out, the extent of those injuries, sharing that information with other people, not even going to get into his decision-making off the field, which has been questioned a couple times in his career. This is who Ben is. What was he doing the last couple years? Questioning Todd Haley as an offensive coordinator. Now he's questioning Kevin Colbert, the general manager. During the season, you know what he questioned? Mike Tomlin as a head coach, the leadership. Remember, he questioned some of the things that he did. This is what Ben has done, and I believe this to be one of the problems with Pittsburgh and why this group does not collectively have rings. There's always some bickering. There's always some little player saying something. In last year's draft, Martavis Bryant, he sounded off. I don't know why they drafted him. Juju Schuster, who was a star. I guess the general manager didn't know who he was drafting in Juju Schuster. So that's another reason why the players should never have an impact on who the organization is going to draft.
And Ben went on, I mean, there were more inflammatory quotes than we had time to play, but also when he was talking about questioning the draft. Later in the interview, he's like, they must have missed on the Josh Dobbs pick. They draft him. If they're drafting Mason in the 3rd round this year, Josh Dobbs must not be the player that they thought he was. As far as to answer the question, I understand why Big Ben would feel like, man, I'm trying to win Super Bowls. I'm trying to have the team be better this year. I'd rather have another weapon or another offensive lineman. I get why you would feel that way. And maybe it's better to keep that part to yourself. But if you want to communicate that, I wouldn't kill him for it. But that second part, which is totally unfair to this rookie, where he's asked if he'd mentor him, if he'd help him. And he said, well, he said he doesn't need me. So I'll just point to the playbook. That is not what Mason Rudolph said. Mason Rudolph said exactly what you would want a rookie to say. My job is to come in and learn. My job is to come in and work. It is not Ben's job to help me. He said that before and after. So for Ben to take that quote and paint the rookie in a bad light, when Ben, no matter what, in the national media, people think of Ben Roethlisberger. In Pittsburgh, he's a god. So to immediately taint the wells, so to speak, on Mason Rudolph with that fan base is wildly unfair and totally unnecessary.
And let's not forget, Ben also threatened to, not threatened, but basically said he didn't want to play anymore after the Jacksonville game. He was questioning whether he was going to come back.
The season before that, he questioned how long he was going to play.
So the Steelers hear that. The Steelers know there's a little guy in his mind saying, maybe this is it. Why wouldn't they want to just have someone there? Regardless, it's still their decision. They still understand what the future holds. They still understand how old he is and what they have left. They can do whatever they want. I fully agree with you.
Yeah, Ben Roethlisberger shouldn't have any input. And this just reveals just who he is. This is who Ben is. Ben was supposed to be happy because Todd Haley, they let him go, relieved him of offensive coordinator's duty. But no, now they've drafted another player, and it is Ben's responsibility to be able to teach this guy, regardless of what Ben thinks.
And it's not like they reached on this player. Like, this was a guy people said potentially could be taken in the 1st round if Lamar Jackson wasn't. Most draft boards had him as a 2nd rounder. They got him mid or I guess early 3rd round. When you have a quarterback who is going into year 15, all of that makes sense. And to throw one of your teammates under the bus is the part of this that's unconscionable.
When he's been your teammate for like 6 minutes.
Yeah, it's just totally unnecessary. And CeCe's point about it revealing who this player actually is, I think is a prescient one.
All right, let's take a break. Coming up, how have the Boston Celtics been able to just dominate the 76ers? Break that down next. First things first.
And where'd DeRozan go?
Not on the court.
At the Joseph